Hey, welcome back. You know, I was thinking the other day about that feeling of losing something. Not your keys or your phone, but something bigger. A document you didn't back up, a photo album from a childhood home, a story your grandfather told you that you can't quite remember. That deep, sinking sense that a piece of the world, a piece of your world, has just vanished forever. Now, imagine that feeling, but for an entire civilization. That's where our story begins today. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Empire Builders, the rise and fall of civilizations from light, not studios. And in this episode, we're going to Nineveh, to the heart of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, to meet a king who was so terrified of forgetting, so obsessed with knowing, that he built the world's first attempt at a universal library. This is Episode 9, the Library of Ashurbanipal, the first great knowledge empire. Let's set the scene. It's the 7th century BC. The Neo-Assyrian Empire is the most terrifying military power the world has ever seen. Its capital, Nineveh, is a city of immense walls and grand palaces, a place of conquest and tribute flowing in from everywhere. And on the throne sits Ashurbanipal. Now, we know Assyrian kings for their brutality, their vast stone reliefs showing lions being hunted and enemies being flayed. Ashurbanipal did that too, but he had another, quieter obsession. He was a scholar king. He was literate in both Akkadian and Sumerian, a rare feat for a monarch. And he was haunted by a profound idea, that all knowledge from every corner of his empire and beyond could be gathered, organized, and preserved in one place. Not for the public, mind you. This wasn't a lending library. This was a weapon. He believed that to rule the world, you first had to understand it. To predict an eclipse, to recite the right incantation for a disease, to understand the omens in a sheep's liver. This was the source of true power. So he launched the greatest knowledge-gathering project in history up to that point. He didn't just buy books. He sent his scribes and agents to every major temple and scholarly center across Mesopotamia, to Babylon, to Nippur, to Uruk, with a simple, imperial command: copy everything. Take the oldest, most worn clay tablet you can find, and meticulously transcribe it onto a fresh, clean tablet. Then, send the copy back to Nineveh. Imagine the scale of this. Teams of scribes, working for decades, copying texts that were already over 1,000 years old. They were gathering the entire intellectual inheritance of Mesopotamia. Myths like the Epic of Gilgamesh, scientific texts on astronomy and medicine, detailed manuals on exorcism and divination, legal codes, royal correspondence, grammar guides for dead languages, even what we'd call recipe books for making glass or perfumes. And then, in the heart of his palace, they organized them. They didn't have a Dewey Decimal System, but they had something just as logical. Tablets were stored in different rooms by subject matter, and each one carried a librarian's note, a colophon. And many of these ended with a terrifying, wonderful phrase: property of the palace of Ashurbanipal, king of the world, king of Assyria. The arrogance of a conqueror, fused with the humility of a student. I own this knowledge, it says, but also, I have preserved it. This is where the story gets truly fascinating for me. As an engineer and entrepreneur, Ashurbanipal wasn't just a collector. He was building a system. He was creating a backup, a redundancy for civilization's hard drive. Think about the innovation here. The medium was the incredibly durable clay tablet. The process was standardized transcription. The organization was systematic categorization. And the goal was total comprehensiveness. He was trying to create a complete data set of his known world. In a way, the Library of Ashurbanipal was the first great tech startup of knowledge, a centralized platform built on a distributed data-gathering network, funded by immense imperial capital. Its mission statement? To eliminate ignorance for the ruler, and by extension, to consolidate his power. The value proposition was control through information. It's a logic we still see today, in every empire and every megacorporation that follows. But here's the tragic, beautiful irony. The empire that built this library was not built to last. Ashurbanipal's reign was the last brilliant flash of Assyrian power. Shortly after his death, the empire imploded. A coalition of Babylonians and Medes laid siege to Nineveh. In 612 BC, the city fell and was burned and razed with a violence that even the Assyrians would have found impressive. The great palaces, with their carved stone guardians, were toppled, and the library? It was destroyed. The wooden shelves burned, the palace walls collapsed, and tens of thousands of those carefully inscribed clay tablets were smashed into fragments and buried under the rubble. For the people who did it, this was the ultimate victory. They weren't just destroying a city. They were erasing the very memory of their oppressor. They were formatting the hard drive. And that should have been the end. The ultimate forgetting. But clay is a stubborn thing. Fire, which destroys paper and parchment, bakes clay and makes it harder. So when the city burned, it didn't incinerate the library. It fired it, like pottery in a kiln. For over 2 millennia, the knowledge of Ashurbanipal lay buried, broken, but not gone. It waited. Fast forward to the 19th century. British archaeologist Austen Henry Layard is digging in the mounds of Nineveh. His workers start uncovering rooms filled with what they call pieces of pottery. But they notice strange markings. They are, of course, the broken tablets of the library. They were shipped back to the British Museum by the crate-load. And there, in the quiet of a museum study room, scholars began the painstaking work of a different kind of empire building, reconstruction. Piecing together fragments, like the world's most difficult jigsaw puzzle, to rebuild the texts. And what they rebuilt changed history. The Epic of Gilgamesh, the story of a flood that predates the biblical Noah, the entire cosmology of Mesopotamia, it all came back from the dead. The library, designed to give one man power in his lifetime, ended up giving all of humanity a memory it had lost forever. So, what's the takeaway from this? For me, Ibnul, sitting here in New York, a world and millennia away from Nineveh, it's this. Ashurbanipal understood that knowledge is the foundation of empire, but he misunderstood its true nature. He thought knowledge was about control, about consolidating power in a single, fortified place. He thought it was a vault to be locked. But the universe had a different lesson to teach. The real power of knowledge isn't in its hoarding. It's in its survival. It's in its stubborn, fragmented, messy ability to outlive the very empires that seek to own it. The library's greatest gift wasn't to Ashurbanipal, who died thinking his empire was eternal. Its greatest gift was to us, the people of the future, who found its broken pieces and heard a story we thought was gone forever. It's a lesson in humility. We build our archives, our clouds, our digital repositories with the same sense of permanence. But perhaps the only things that truly last are the ideas baked into the most durable, simple mediums and scattered so widely that no single disaster can erase them all. The Library of Ashurbanipal teaches us that building an empire of knowledge isn't about a single, glorious repository. It's about the act of preservation itself, the sacred work of copying, of saving, of passing it on, even if you don't know who you're passing it on to. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story of the first great knowledge empire, please do share this episode with someone else who loves history. It helps the show more than you know. For more deep dives into the civilizations that shaped our world, make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. This is Ibnul J. Farabi for Light Not Studios. Until next time, keep building.